What up, everybody? It has been a long time since I uploaded a video. Obviously, a lot has changed about my physical appearance. As much has changed in my internal appearance as well. I've shed a lot of the dark cloaks, if you will. I have, with the Father's mercy and grace, been able to shed the habit of smoking weed and consuming it entirely. It has been a long time since I've consumed cannabis, and I think it's for the better. I think my relationship with cannabis is coming to an end, and the state of being that I find myself in without it is much more rewarding. I think rewarding is a good word for that. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I do want to talk about something that I need to get out there as soon as possible. Okay? So I've made it here to a local network of trails. So we're gonna go on a little hike, go on a little evening hike as I talk to y'all about something that needs to be talked about, and it's surrounding the state of the world today. Now, a lot of people are talking about the state of the world today, and I'm not here to be an alarmist. I'm not here to talk about anything that would cause distress. I'm actually bringing an uplifting and positive message about the future. I think the future could be a very bright and joyful place. Now, in the current trajectory that we're going, I think it would be a very gloomy and dim space to live in. If you watch my video about being in the world but not of it, that would do well to understand where I'm coming from, because I still firmly believe that money is, in its current form, is the root of all evil. Of course, avarice is the root of all evil, but our system of finance, our financial system, is built on avarice. So I say, let's go. Oh, gonna need some water. Okay, this trail, let's see. This trail network, Spring Lake Natural Area. That's where we're at. And we're just gonna go on a walk. But before we do, let's go ahead and make sure we don't get lost. Okay. We can either go right on the Blind Salamander Way. We're right here. Or, no, we're right here.
Bruh.
So, I think that's where we're at. No, we are right here. Okay, so we can either go, wow. All right. I love maps too, by the way. We can go down Blue Heron or this thing. I don't know what this is. To Exogyra. But, okay, we're gonna go, let's go. Let's go this way. To Exogyra. Oh no, actually, let's go to Skink Link. Or Centipede looks fun. Should we pass the Red Oak? Go to Buckeye and all the way this way? Well, let's go right. Let's go to the Red Oak. Left on Blue Stem. Right on Buckeye, left on Blue Stem. Okay. So anyway. Whoa, what is this? People leave interesting things on the trail. So, yes, if you haven't seen my video on being in the world but not of it, or is that the moon? Wow. Actually, yeah, if you haven't seen the video on being in the world but not of it, and or my video talking about artificial intelligence, I highly encourage you to watch those videos before proceeding on with this one. It'll give you a little bit more context about where my head is and how I'm looking into, or how I'm looking forward. Now, I firmly believe that our current financial system is Centipede or Buckeye? Centipede or Buckeye? They both lead to Buckeye, I think. Let's just keep it simple, because that's actually the theme of this video. Keeping it simple. Our world is a very complex world right now, and we got a lot of interesting things happening all around us. First and foremost, it's most important to remain focused on the Most High God. He will see us through the worst of times, that's for sure. And he'll see it too that we make it through in one piece and in peace. Look at this. 2 stone seats. pretty awesome. Now, the long and short of it is this. I think we need to remove money out of the equation of life. I think the biggest problem that we face today and have been facing for a long time, which has been attempted to be addressed in multiple different ways throughout history. I think the most recent, obviously, is cryptocurrency. But before that was getting off of the gold standard. So in 1971, financial institutions were, for the first time, basing securities off of credit. And if you don't know, credit allowed for a boom in productivity, industrialization, a lot of surplus in goods, trade, material, wealth. Like, the West flourished because of it. Now we come to today. And what's happening today is we're facing a skyrocketing rate of inflation. And a lot of people are suffering because of it. The suffering is bleeding into, has completely consumed the lower class and is almost completely consumed the middle class, leaving a very wide channel between the wealthy elite and everyone else. You know, those known as the 1%. And that's almost all there is now. Even those who are making upwards of $120,000 a year and more in that range are still suffering just as much as the lower class did. They're caught in their own traps of the patterns that they've fallen into. Now, the long and short of it is this. Our system has allowed for the flourishing of sin, and it has enabled sin to be perpetuated. And that is the root cause. That sin keeps us in this loop, this programmed loop of consumption. And it has captured us. It has captured us entirely. Almost to the point where we don't know how to get out of it. Well, that's what I want to bring to you. A way out of that. And this is why I talk about money, because the starting point of that is to realize that we need to stop valuing it. We need to stop collectively valuing money, because there is no intrinsic value to it. It only has value because we put value on it. And we live in a world where our access to it is in a system that can be fine-grained controlled. We live in a system where fairly soon, if you don't comply to certain social norms or certain social behaviors, you will be excluded. You'll be excluded from accessing this resource. And it is a resource. But it's a poor resource. The resource doesn't have much substance to it. It gets created out of thin air at this point. It can't really do much. It can serve as kindling. It can burn in the cash form, in its physical form. And that's what I'm mostly talking about here, is the physical form, because our physical resources are increasingly under attack. I mean, land has been scooped up by the wealthy elite over a century ago in America. I'm strictly talking about America here today. Now, it's happening all over the world, but I really just want to talk about America today, because this is front and center for this show that's about to take place, and that's the collapse of the Western civilization. And it doesn't have to be a catastrophic collapse. It really starts with putting down their weapons. I mean, our weapons, the weapons that we are using to kill ourselves. The primary weapon that we are using to kill ourselves is money. Now, once humanity has collectively put down that weapon, okay, this is blue stem, so I'm going to go this way, I think. If I get lost, I'll just retrace my steps. So I took a right. Now I just need to take a left if I need to. So. Let's take, for example, this apple that I'm eating. People will say, well, Corey, if you don't have money, how are you going to get that apple you're eating? Let me tell you. I once partook in this amazing organization. I volunteered. It's called the Yellow Bike Project, where you can go, you can build a bike. That bike is then given to someone in need of a bike or of transportation. And then once you've built that bike, you can go ahead and build one for yourself. Call it a give one, take one model, where, let's say, I want access to produce. Well, what I would do is I would find my nearest farm, give my time to produce produce. And then I'm given some sort of token that says this individual put in his time to grow produce for the benefit of others. So now I have access to produce. Now, an apple isn't a basic necessity. Let's start with the basic necessities. Well, we got oxygen, even though that's under attack on a daily basis. We have that at least. At least that's still free. Even though it was under assault for a few years, we do have access to it. Okay, second, water. Very important. That has almost been entirely captured. But water is a focus for sure. Access to water. Once that's taken care of, you move on to food. Air, water, food. Most people might skip food or do food and shelter at the same time. But I find that a person would probably want to eat before they had a roof over their head. If it came down to it. Who knows? Maybe other people would have different priorities, but after shelter, you need clothing. So what is that? Air, water, food, shelter, clothing. 5 basic necessities. So, how do we do this? Well, since corporations and banks own most, if not all, of the land via the title companies, deeds that have been placed on it, given to by or through the government. Banks hold these deeds and these titles. They're the ones that are being stewards of them. I say, and maybe I'm wrong. Let's say I'm wrong. Whoever, it really doesn't matter who is stewarding these titles, these land parcels, or the deeds to them. Whoever it is. Release them and make them open source so that everyone has access to land. I don't know many people out there fighting for land or wanting to, or having or feeling the need to. Those who are should be under close community supervision. There's plenty of land to go around. If we work in decentralized, tribal-based communities, there won't be this massive demand on resources. I'm going back because I think I passed a map and I just want to make sure I'm going the right way. Oh, I didn't pass a map. Let's see, there's Gray Fox that way, Bluestem. I think Bluestem goes all the way back to, what was that? Not first trails that I was on, I can't remember. It loops back around though. Anyway. Release all existing titles of land. Make it open source. For those who have residential property, let them keep it. In fact, they would play an incredibly important role moving forward in this give one, take one model. because oftentimes these people have and are in need of great help, skilled help. Now, they could be hosts for garden centers where those who have residential land would benefit from this by allowing people to work on that land and grow gardens. I mean, for example, look at this plot of land. I know it's a park, but that's managed by the BLM. Have one person oversee the utilization of resources here and make sure that nothing is being done improperly. Have a garden out here. What is this trail? There's a marker here, but it doesn't say what it is. You see, we only need money because we don't know how to escape the system that they've created that requires it. If it were abolished, if we weren't holding to it so desperately, life would be a little more free. If this is the land of the free, if this is truly the land of the free, then we should be freed. Because we're currently held captive by the system that forces us to obtain this inherently valueless resource. I mean, let's think about it in terms of energy management. Basic necessities. Back to the basic necessities. We need 5 things. It doesn't take that much energy to get these 5 things. If it does take a lot of energy, it's because it's vis-a-vis a gatekeeper between us and that resource, increasing the cost. And I speak about cost in terms of energy here. They raise the cost that it requires to obtain said resources. Our access to it is limited via this middleman of currency, fiat currency. Take that out, take that middleman out, allow the people to be free. To work together within a decentralized system that operates under a give one, take one model. We might just be able to make it out. Now, of course, there's going to be people who are too attached to the current economic model of fiat currency. Well, that's fine. They can remain. They can remain within that system if they so choose. But at the very least, what should ensue is the allowance of a second option. at the very least. Because currently, we're only faced with one option, and that's to make money, to survive. But if people were given the ability to choose which system of survival they were allowed to operate in, things might be a little different. All right, I'm gonna pause this video real quick and go back and check out the map. All right, so we're gonna start making our way back now. Sun's going below the horizon, and I think I went a lot farther than I thought I did. Anyway, also my battery is almost dead, and I want to get this complete thought out and captured. So two choices. If we had a second option, I think we'd find a lot of people would choose the second option. Because if you ask someone, would you be doing what you're doing for a living if you weren't required to make money, make payments on whatever it is you're making payments on? I think most people would say, no, I wouldn't be doing this. I would be pursuing my passion. I would be doing X, Y, or Z. It's only because the majority of people are on the hook in some way. They've signed away their freedom, their sovereignty, to a financial institution, to the repayment of debt. And it is the instrument of debt that I speak of when I say captivity. We are being held captive. It really isn't freedom. So, back to building this idea out. Of course, there's going to be some conflicts along the way, like, well, you can't release all the land, because then the people that are doing payments on the land would be like, hey, what gives? Do I make payments? I don't know. The details could be worked out, but the basic concept needs to be expounded upon and needs to be put out there. And it needs to be ran with. Because I don't know about you, but I do not feel represented. So I do not understand why I'm being taxed by an entity that is run by people I don't know for things that don't benefit me directly. That seems like slavery to me, and a lot of people would agree. There's a lot of words for it, a lot of terms for it that sugarcoat the reality of the situation, of course. But at the end of the day, we are being held captive. There's nothing free about what we're doing. There are two types of resources that are within the system that we have today. This system of fiat currency that is itself the fiat currency, which we've already stated is almost intrinsically devoid of any value, real value. We only assign it value because it we say it has value. That's really it. And time. We have time and fiat currency. Where the means to obtain said fiat currency, the former resource, can be manipulated in such a way where there is no equity. That is to say, it doesn't measure a person's value, although we treat it like it does. We treat it as though it is a measurement of a man or a woman's worth. But it's not. If we want to be equal, which I firmly believe we all are, then we need to start measuring that equity and that equality by the amount of time we have. And we all have the same amount of time in a day. Just around 16 hours. The rest of that should be dedicated to sleep and rest. Tired of people saying we have 24 hours in a day. I'm sorry. I don't have 24 hours in a day. I have 16. And in the current system we have, it's more like closer to 4 hours in a day. And that is if you're working a schedule that allows you to see the daylight, experience the daylight, enjoy the daylight. A lot of people are working schedules that they only see the night. They sleep during the day. I've been there myself, and it's not good. The amount of money that they provide to compensate for that loss doesn't even begin to cover it. It is a detriment to the human body, and it can do irreversible long-term damage to a person's whole health. I was there in 2023. It's crazy to think that it's almost been 2 years. But let us move on. So, let's say we have convinced enough people to get behind this new way of life, this better way of life. You know, they try to create this new world order with the fiat currency system. I would call this way of life the better world order. The healthier world order. Or simply balanced world order. Because in its current form, it is imbalanced. And it favors those who prop up institutions that incentivize the flourishing of sin, which, if you know, or if you don't know, the wages of are death. This system of fiat currency is paying us in death. That's why people don't make it very long. That's why people suffer in their old age. I think in a balanced world order, I think people could live much longer, fruitful lives full of a vibrant experience, joy and wonder. But we're only given one option. So how do we go forward with that? Well, we have to start spreading this message. I firmly believe we need to start talking to our neighbors about how we need to stop valuing money. It's the weapon that we are pointing at ourselves directly into the heart and pulling the trigger over and over again until we can no longer feel anything. So we need to put that weapon down. We can talk about more complex ways about how the give one, take one model would, take hold of the baton. Let's see, I think if I continue down blue stem, that'll be okay. Looks like it goes right back to where I just came from, but I think it meanders all the way to the sundial. But let's stay focused on the basic 5 necessities. So let's say people who want to stay within the current form of socioeconomic management, control, however you want to say it. Yes, we have some uphill grade. Finally, it's been flat for most. I miss the mountains. I miss the hikes in the mountains where uphill never stopped. For those that wanted to stay and remain within the shiny fiat currency system, well, maybe they can just continue along with that plan of the 15-minute city. Continue on with the discourse that goes on there. The maddening discourse that makes no sense. Let them continue to fight amongst themselves, while leaving those who do not wish to partake in its development alone. Leave the rest of us alone. Let us return to our roots. Let us feel the earth. Let us become grounded to it. Because I'm tired of this thin veneer encrusted over God's beautiful green earth, from disconnecting us from it. Look at where we're at. We've been given all that we need. Why does man lust for more? What more is there to want? Why does man strive for progress in vain? I can tell you why. And if you've made it this far, then you know why man strives in vain for progressing forward to reach the stars. So yeah, let's start with that and go from there. Work out the details along the way. But let's start with talking about, to our fellow neighbor, how useless money really is and how much it actually does the opposite of be a useful tool. Sure, there are use cases of it being a useful tool, but let's go back to that apple as an example. Think about all the energy that was spent to bring that apple to my hand. Well, first there's the land that it was grown upon, the farmer who likely was just a corporate farm, a mass production farm, that used an insane amount of expertise to build and manage and cultivate and maintain, the amount of pesticides that were used through the maintenance of it. Monoculture farming is killing the land and the soil. Polyculture farming could restore the soil. The equipment that was used to harvest that single apple to then be sorted, and more equipment that took hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop and manufacture, not to mention the logistical supply chain that it took to distribute all these tools, all this equipment. Then, furthermore, the inspection, the handling within the farm, the distribution of the produce that passed to regional distributors that then took that batch that contained that particular apple to a local grocery store. Oh, not to mention the plastics that were used to contain that particular apple in a bag. So then you're getting into oil, big oil, and the refining of it, processing of it, and financial institutions. I mean, you've already reached, no doubt, millions of dollars, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars spent just so that I could eat that one apple. That seems backwards to me. That doesn't seem right. It could be very simple. It could be as simple as, here's some land. I'm going to spend my energy to work that land, make it hospitable to the cultivation of my local area's garden or set of gardens, because like I said, those with residential land could have gardens, or parks could be redistributed to be a multi-use purpose where people could live and work towards the flourishing of life, not the suffocating of it. We're doing things so backwards and so upside down. And I know all of you see it. I know you see it, but you just don't know how else it could be done. Well, this is the start. This is the start. We have to put those weapons down. And when it comes to actual violent weapons and weapon systems, well, that could be handled at a later time, but that certainly needs to be sunsetted. Violence as a means of control is counterproductive, to say the least. The monopolization of the threat of violence is counterproductive for sure, and it only breeds more hostility in the world, not less. It doesn't bring more peace, it brings more strife, more suffering. But yeah, we gotta put our weapons down. Look towards heaven above and put our weapons down. Jesus is the way. He will show you that way. And if what I'm saying sounds insane, well, you might be under a strong delusion. And I pray for you. I pray that you might be able to see a more peaceful way of life that can not only benefit yourself, but everyone who inhabits this world. There is a wonderful world to be lived in, not feared. We shouldn't have to walk this earth in fear and trembling of death. But I've arrived back to the trailhead, I believe, and I'll leave it at that. I'll come back to talk about this more in detail, because a lot of details do need to be worked out for sure. But I think for now we keep things simple, because there is a lot to digest in what's been said today. And what's been said today has been said out of love. Pure, absolute love for this life, the people I share it with, and hope for a better future than the one that we're currently headed towards. I've strived for most of my life to understand the way this world works, and I feel like I have a firm grasp. And instead of screaming and shouting, "Hey, don't go that way," without providing any semblance of a solution as to another way to go, well, here I am today to bring you that other way. Its foundation is in Jesus Christ. And from there, we can move forward towards a future that looks more like the Yellow Bike Project. One where we're excited to jump into when we wake up in the morning. One where we're excited to greet our neighbor instead of yell at them. But anyway, I'm glad if you're still watching that you're still with me. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to speak with y'all, meet y'all, build with y'all, do all the things with y'all. But until then, have a very, very, very blessed life, and may God be with you. Big peace, big love, one love. Shalom.